Bonjour everyone, I am Annelise Caillès and welcome to Parlez-Vous CEO, where we ditch the corporate talk and get real about entrepreneurship. Each week, I chat with founders and CEOs who build businesses their way, through the failures, pivots, and breakthroughs. And they bring the fire. Plus, I'll drop some golden nuggets of wisdom from my own entrepreneurial journey. This is your space to grow, learn, and evolve with a true growth mindset. Remember, success isn't about perfection, it's about persistence. Now let's kick things off and get this party started. Hello, bonjour, bonjour, hello. Welcome to another episode of the Parlez-Vous CEO show and our special real estate series. My name is Annelise and I am your host. For those who are just joining the podcast, we're Brandora. We specialize in helping real estate companies scale their revenue. And if you want to learn more about how to take your business to the next level, make sure to stick around. And if you're interested in a free growth consultation, just drop the word growth in the DMs. So I'm super excited today and I have a very special guest with me, Nicole Fishman. Nicole, hi, and I'm so happy you're here today. In your own words, would you introduce yourself and let our audience know a little bit more about you?
Bonjour, Annalise. Yes, of course. My name is Nicole Fishman. I'm originally from Costa Rica. I was supposed to be in New York for 6 months, 13 years ago. So that's that.
Wow.
I have a background in law. In my previous life, I used to be an attorney. And just because of different circumstances, I launched and I decided to get into the real estate world 8 years ago. And I launched my own company called Apple. We saw an opportunity to just do things a bit differently and disrupt a little bit the business model of how real estate had been done in the city. And I started Transferable with the business model of offering cash back to clients. So from whatever commission I receive as a broker, I give back 2/3 to the client. That applies both for the buyer side and the seller side.
Wow, that's a very interesting model. I've always been really interested in what you guys are doing with Apple. So how did you even get the idea to get started in real estate? Like, take us back a little bit to the beginning. Why did you make that move? How did you have even the idea of going into that kind of, it's a very specific line of business in real estate in New York.
Yeah, of course. So I came to New York as a lawyer. I worked for a law firm and I took my bar. I was working for a non-for-profit. I got married and I got pregnant with my first child. And I realized that I wanted to manage my own time. I wanted to be my own boss so I can have flexibility. In parallel, me and my husband, he was always interested in real estate. He got me into it. We started buying some investment properties. We were acting as landlords. We bought an apartment in New York. So we kind of had been, I was a tenant before. So I had seen all the sides of the real estate transactions. And there was something that just always didn't click to me. Like why these fees and why are they so high? And we saw an opportunity where we could add value, offer a very good service, but for a fraction of the price. So we did not reinvent the wheel. It was just, we didn't find a justification for the high fees because our overhead has always been very minimum. We've kept that to a low amount to be able to justify giving that back, right? So most agents work for a big agency and they split the commission with the agency. I split my commission with the clients. So it started first with buyers because we wanted to just test it out and see if it was a good option. And it was very successful from day one because once you get a client who understands that they're leaving money on the table by going the traditional way, the client acquisition rate is very high. So once you get someone who, they don't have to be savvy or experienced buyers, but once they understand the division of the commissions and how the fees are structured, and if you're working with an agent like me, you get the same amount of service for a fraction of the price, it's really a no-brainer. So it was very successful with the buyer side. So for the first 2-3 years, we said, this works. And then I started taking on listings. And as a seller, your biggest expense is going to be broker's commissions, right? So the traditional 6%, now it became 5%, but I take listings for as low as 2%. So it just gives and offers the seller also an optimum, very professional, very efficient service for a fraction of the price.
Wow, that's amazing. Such an interesting business model. And could you tell our audience how it went with your first clients? Do you remember your first client? I'm sure you do.
Listen, it all starts somewhere. So first, it was a network of friends and our personal networks. And the truth is, I had no experience in real estate, right? I knew law, I knew corporate law, I knew international law. And the truth is, I learned on the street. I learned as I went. The first few properties were for people that we know, that I knew. But at the same time, the brokers, they were not supposed to know that I was new. So I was on the phone with very experienced, brokers, and they would be talking to me, and I would just be Googling what they were saying. And for any questions that I didn't know, I would say, let me get right back to you. I don't have it at the top of my mind. Let me confirm. That's always that was my line. Let me get back to you. Or they ask me something that I had no idea. I'm like, you know what? I'm walking into a meeting. Let me call you right back. And I would just, figure it out, because why not? And the learning curve was very steep and very high, very fast. Once you get a couple, and a couple, I mean dozens of deals under your belt, because every deal is different. I realized that, of course, you need to know the concepts, and you need to understand the process, and you need to really, I would say, know how it operates. The most important is relationships and people skills and social skills. And I think that's the difference between, getting a deal done and having it blow up. Because this industry, you're managing a lot of people's emotions. Most people buying a property is their biggest asset. It's their biggest, they're putting a lot of effort financially, emotionally, and you have to manage those emotions. And at the same time, you have to manage the other side. And at the same time, you're managing the attorneys. And at the same time, so it's really, in my experience, it's a people's person's job, and that's why I like it so much. And I think it's why I became good at it, because I'm a good people's person.
And it sounds like you already had the mindset. You didn't get, overwhelmed at the beginning. You're like, I will figure it out. So you were also very confident within yourself and brave to realize, I will figure it out. Like, maybe I don't know right now, but I will figure it out. That's so important for real estate agents to be resourceful like that.
Yeah.
And so you were a lawyer before, and I'm curious, what do you think were transferable skills that made you a good broker?
Listen, I think a law degree is a great base for anything. And I think it's a very respectable career, and it gives you just a very good background on analysis, attention to detail. Being bar admitted in New York, it's prestigious, and speaking multiple languages gives you an added value. So for me, it's a good base. Looking back, would I have done the same? Probably yes, just because it's what I knew to do, and it worked out. I don't know, if I would have landed in real estate with a different background. It's just hard to know. But definitely, I think it was a very easy transition, just because, again, it was about dealing with people and dealing with documents and attention to just the specifics. And it was a very smooth transition, even though the content was very different, for sure.
Yeah, I've seen in my career, I've seen a lot of very successful transition from people going from law to the brokerage side. So that makes a lot of sense. It's prestigious. I think you have the brain built for it, the structure, and then it's people skills, right? So
yeah. It's hard to find a happy lawyer.
Yeah, especially in New York.
I know, and the hours are crazy, and but at the same time, I always say it's my insurance belt. Real estate is a very unstable profession. It's not a secure income. It's not a stable income. With a law degree, and again, speaking more than one language in New York, you went, maybe it's an entry level, but you're pretty much guaranteed a job. So I think it's also a very safe, as a woman, as a mom, to have that safety net in a place that's not my country. It's just a good safety net to have, and I think it was a smart choice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so tell our audience a bit more about how you're currently doing your business development, because this is the question, especially for real estate agents. This
Yeah.
is what's always on, on people's mind. Like, how do I get more clients?
Yeah.
What's your lead generation process? What's your strategy on getting new clients?
Listen, that's the hardest part, right? And the agents that work with us, and when I talk to people who are starting in the industry, I say that's the hardest job, finding clients that trust you. Everyone knows a broker. Everyone has a friend who's a broker. Everyone
Mm-hmm.
has their wife's friend is a broker, so it's
Mm-hmm.
just there's a lot of us. So something that I think it's one of the things that I'm proudest of with Nestapo is that we have invested pretty much zero in marketing.
Mm-hmm.
And the growth has just been very organic. And I would say my lead generation is based on three categories. Number one, our network has just grown, and it's a network that me and my husband has been in the city for 25 years, and even though he doesn't work with me, but his network is very big, and I've tried to just pitch that. And so it's,
Mm-hmm.
I would say, one third personal network. The other third is going to be referrals, because my client satisfaction is very high, and I'm very proud of our ratings and our reviews, just because people are happy. People are very happy when you pick up the phone, when you answer a text message, when you are responsive, and when you're efficient, which is
Mm-hmm.
honestly what we are. So we've had the cousins, the brothers, the neighbors, the colleagues refer us to them, and that's been great. And the other third, I would say, it's our SEO. We do it all in house,
Mm-hmm.
and we try to keep a pretty active blog on our website about relevant subjects, and just up to date, from how to fix a broken sink
Mm-hmm.
to just very specific how to do a 1031, and just very technical real estate, but across the board use a lot of SEO techniques. And I know you're the expert in this, and so it's just been it's just what you have to do. My least favorite part of the job.
Mm-hmm.
I like
Like
to
a
deal
lot
with
of
people.
agents.
I don't like to deal with the back office stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
it is what it is, and it works. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really how I've divided it, and so far it's been working.
That's amazing. And what is right now the thing you love about real estate?
Oh my God, that's a hard one, Lisa. I love, and I think it's not now. It's what I've always appreciated the most. There's no two of the same. You're never
Mm-hmm.
gonna have, like, once you think, okay, I've seen it all. No, you've not seen it all. There's
Mm-hmm.
always gonna be a crazy situation. There's always gonna be a very unpredictable buyer. There's always gonna be a very unpredictable seller. We recently, I'm going to tell you a very funny anecdote. It's funny because, you have to laugh not to cry in this job. We closed the house outside the city, and lovely clients. My buyers were just, lovely human beings. Throughout the process, the seller seemed kind of quirky, but whatever, not my problem. Long story short, we get to the closing table. The seller doesn't leave the house. The wife just, after the closing, was sleeping in the room. 48 hours, they didn't leave the house.
Oh my
Um,
God.
yeah, eventually we didn't have to call the police, but it was just, and he wanted to just buy the pizza and stay for dinner. And it was just very awkward. So, whenever you think, fine, we're closed, we're done, I got
Mm-hmm.
my clients got their keys, everyone's happy. No, there's always a situation. So the unpredictableness of it, I think, just keeps me entertained and keeps me on my toes. And until everything is really, really done, everything can blow up. So you just
Mm-hmm.
have to be ready, expect the worst, and be ready for it.
That's a very positive way to frame it. And so, do you have a story of your best deal, the deal that was the easiest to make happen?
I don't think there's an easy deal. Honestly, I would tell you my favorite deals are because of the people that I really like. We've had
Mm.
clients where we've become good friends. People that, you get, when you touch someone's wallet, you really get to know them for the good and the bad. So there's people that that I have been disappointed in, and you thought you knew them, and you're like, okay, now I see, true colors come out. And then there's people who are just lovely and grateful and happy and appreciative, and you get to experience with them buying their new home, and the first home where they're going to start a family, or they're empty nesters, or so it's been connecting. And I don't remember, like, you ask me what addresses I'm working on, I cannot tell you. Like, I don't
Mm-hmm.
remember numbers. I don't remember anyone's financial statement. but I can tell you the name of their kids. I can tell you what they went for coffee. And it drives people crazy because, maybe I got a high end, when they're like, oh, how much is their Google stock? I'm like, I have no idea they have Google stock. I saw it yesterday. I saw their I saw their financials, but I have no idea because I read it. It's good. It's out of my mind.
Yeah.
So I focus on what I like and what I care. And it's just, I've met a lot of good people. And I think that's been good. Also with brokers, I've met some really good, nice brokers who are just very good at what they do, who have taught me a lot, and who are just interested in doing a good job and closing a deal, don't care about the bullshit power plays. And so you connect, and I think that's the whole point, right? You're just, why make it not enjoyable?
Absolutely. I'm absolutely with you. Yeah. And have you felt that being a woman in residential real estate has been more of an advantage, a disadvantage, or neutral? How do you feel about it?
I would say neutral. I think if anything, sometimes, and more at the beginning when I didn't have such a thick skin. I wouldn't say I have it now, but at least it's thicker than before when I started. People would hear the accent and they would say like, tell your broker to call me. And I'm like, well, it's me, I got a couple of those, who's the broker in charge or, but it's more the accent. I wouldn't say it's a women issue. I would say a lot of people are just, afraid of change or afraid of something they don't know or just don't like something new. And so I got never pushback, but just attitude, And my motto has always been the meaner they are, the nicer I am, which pisses them off even more.
Really?
I don't like confrontation. It makes me very anxious. So when people, I've had these very aggressive brokers, who are all about just these pit bulls, and I get this stomach ache and I take my Xanax and I'm very nice because it's the way to calm them down. It's like when you're dealing with a bully, right? If you just don't engage, they have no one to fight with. So I never had any awful experience, but if anything, it would be that. I remember, I have one. She was a woman also, and she also had an accent. And she was furious with my business model. Furious. And I kept, very calm and explaining, listen, nothing that I do with my half of the commission affects yours, right? I'm bringing you a legit, able buyer who's doing an all cash deal. We're ready to move forward. And she was very upset about the way we structure our business and how we justify doing it for a fraction of the price. And to me, that's a you problem. It's not a me problem, right? It's you feeling insecure. It's you having, issues with change. And listen, I can see how taxi drivers felt when Uber arrived, right? Hotel owners, when Airbnb, like, I get it. Nobody likes change, but I've just experienced a few instances, and they've all been women mostly, where I've gotten pushback of the business model because they don't understand, right? And also I say, listen, there's enough for everyone, right? There's enough for everything to go around. I'm not touching your half, and your client will get what they want, which is a closing. So if anything, has been more on that end.
Yeah, I'm sure you must have received some pushback from other brokers feeling threatened by your business model, right?
Yeah. And again, it's not a reflection on me because everything we do is transparent. It's 100% legal. And it's out in the open, right? I'm not hiding it because I'm not doing anything wrong. Every party of the transaction knows, and it just makes everyone happy. As a seller's side or as a buyer's side, whichever side I'm representing, I'm giving the other side a competent counterparty. So it's really just about ignorance and insecurities, which, it's not my problem.
Right, absolutely. And so you've been in the business for 8 years. And so how was COVID for you?
Listen, COVID was the best year of my, I had the best year after. So COVID was 2020, 2021 was the best year Nestapple had, the best. I think people were just freaking out. Everyone was either buying or selling. I think it was just a good year, The uncertainty of the year before, uncertainty is never good. People don't like uncertainty. People don't like not knowing what's happening. So 2020, nobody knew. There's no vaccines. Everything was kind of paralyzed. And as things were just a bit better, it was like everyone had been holding on to their cash. Nobody was traveling. Nobody was eating out. Nobody was spending. So people just accumulated wealth. And it was the best year we had.
Wow.
Most of the business I do is online, text, email, phone. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, it wasn't really a change in my business model, in the sense
Mm-hmm.
where I'm usually not on the streets running around meeting people. I try to do everything digitally. Most of my clients appreciate and prefer that and ask me for that.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very profitable. Honestly, it was good. I know it was a very tragic year for many people, on a personal level and a health level. I had my second baby and I had the best year of my career, financially
Mm-hmm.
speaking. So it was a good period for me. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's amazing to hear. And so, talking about the tough times in the economy and
Yeah.
overall being resilient, um, how have you navigated tough times yourself? Because we know the market is up and down. How do you stay consistent? How do you stay focused when things are, when shit is hitting the fan, really?
Like now. You know what? I think what we've done and what I will keep doing is picking up the phone and talking to my clients, because they need the reassurance, right?
Mm-hmm.
They need the comfort that someone understands what's happening, that someone can explain the next steps, that someone, can just kind of walk them through what's going on. And at the same time, when someone tells me, listen, I'm freaking out, I'm bleeding cash, I need to just put a stop to it, say, absolutely, I'll be
Mm-hmm.
ready whenever you're ready.
Mm-hmm.
Never pressure anyone, because I think it's also karma, it's going to backfire somehow, somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just about listening to what they need. In the end, I provide a service, right? I'm a client-based service. Real estate is the topic, but we offer a service, and we offer, literally picking up the phone, answering the message, and answering questions, and comforting people. So
Mm-hmm.
just by doing that, I think reassures, um, my clients whenever they're having doubts, whenever they're afraid, whenever they want to maybe take a step back, whenever they want to go all in, and you're like, hey, dude, wait, like maybe that's not necessary. Maybe if we just
Mm-hmm.
start here. But I think just being there for them, especially because when things are easy, everything's easy.
Mm-hmm.
When a deal is smooth and nobody needs you, it's fine, it's easy. But I think it's when they, are having a harder time, or their circumstances change, or someone gets fired, or we were buying a house, the wife was in the middle of changing jobs, but the bank didn't know, but the bank had to be notified. And it's like, listen, it'll be fine, she has another, employment letter, we have to notify the bank, because if not, it's going to blow up. And then once you
Mm-hmm.
reassure and you provide just factual information, I think people are very appreciative of that.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Thanks you for sharing. And so, real estate, as you know very well, it's a 24/7 type of
Yes.
business, right? And we live in New York, which is a
For
24/7
7
city. Exactly. So, how do you navigate that? What systems have you built to keep your sanity?
Listen, I don't know if I have my sanity, but whatever sanity I have, I I'm always on my phone. Nothing that I'm proud of, but it is. I'm always on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I may not always give the answers, but I will say, listen, I'm sitting down for dinner. Let me call you back in 2 hours. Or I try to just be responsive, because in my experience, that's what clients appreciate the most. I also am very conscious that we're not neurosurgeons. I'm not saving anyone's life.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing is going to happen, and I always try to put things in perspective, because people get just very, very emotional and very stressed out. And, like, the contract's not going to fly away if we don't sign it today or tomorrow, right? Like, nobody's
Mm-hmm.
dying on the table. There's no kids starving to death. Like, we need to just also take a minute. And so just when, I'm always available, but at the same time, I try not to go crazy, because if not, it's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
For me, because I just cannot, and I put it in perspective, and I like my job. I'm proud of it. I'm proud of what we've built. It's a very good source of income, but it's not my
Mm-hmm.
life. I
Mm-hmm.
have a full life, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
happy to have that multi dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
So I also try to put it in perspective, and it's a very difficult balance to keep.
Mm-hmm. It is. It is.
That's the
And
truth.
so I'm curious as to what's a day in the life of Nicole. Like, what time do you wake up? Do you work out every day? Like,
Yeah,
I'm always interested in how people have figured out a
yeah.
system that works for them, right? To stay healthy and sane.
Yeah. Listen, I no day is the same, but maybe I wake up around 7. My kids wake me up, unfortunately. If I could, I would sleep until 10 a.m. And then it's, I put on my mom hat and it's breakfast, uniforms, lunch boxes, and getting everyone out the door. I have 3 kids, ages 7, 5, and 2. So the older 2 are in school. So I usually drop them off. At 9 a.m., my God sent nanny arrives, and so she takes care of my little one during the day. I try to do a workout 2 or 3 times a week. I do Pilates and a gym because my gynecologist told me that I have to do weights pre-menopause. So that's another topic. So I started doing weights this year because I'm about to be 40. So I try to do that. I'm not an athletic person. I don't like working out. I do it because I have to. Once I'm there, I feel good, but it's not something that I, love to do. No.
Yeah, I hear you.
And I like to drink. That's what I like to do. And then I'm hooked on, starting at 10 a.m. I'm on my phone, I'm on my email. The last 3 hours, I was also kind of checking in and answering anything that's urgent. I would say from 10 to 3, I'm fully connected, working nonstop. And then 3:30, I'm back in mom mode when possible, unless I have showings, inspections, stuff happening in the afternoon. I try to be available for my kids in the afternoon, after schools and this and that. And then once everyone, go home, homework, dinner. Once everyone's in bed around 8:30, I answer, reply, deal with anything that was kind of pending for the day. And then that's it. I love to go to bed early. If I go out for dinner, I do like a very American 6 p.m. dinner, which I love. And at 9, I need to be in horizontal position, either to watch my show or read my book and to nobody talk to me or bother me.
Yeah.
That's my, like 9 to 10, I just need to just not be
Disconnect.
bothered. Yeah. Yeah.
And what would you say is the biggest risk you've taken in your career, and was it worth it?
Good question. Listen, I would say for sure leaving law and launching my own company, because it's very unstable, right? I don't have I don't have a income every 2 weeks, which is exactly the same. So I think that's the biggest risk. When the fluctuation, you have to kind of just play with it and manage it. Has it been worth it? 100%. I mean, I wouldn't. Will I be doing this for the rest of my life? I don't know. I don't think so. But I think for the next few years and for the last 8, it's been great. And it's been challenging and it's been dynamic and it's been profitable. And it's been a good learning experience, and I love the idea of reinventing ourselves every decade. I feel like I had my 10 years as a lawyer. I would love to have my 10 years as a broker. And then, I don't know, do something else. I don't know if I want to, now that I've been my own boss, I think it would be hard to go back to a specific schedule. But I've always, I don't know, try something different. I don't know. That's what I would love. Maybe in a few years, just completely change and do something completely opposite.
Oh, wow. So you're thinking maybe a different direction than real estate in a couple of years?
Listen, I don't know. For now, I'm not going anywhere. For now, I want to keep building Nestapo and growing it. But I don't know if I want to be a broker for the next 50 years. I don't think so.
Yeah, now I hear you. And so what would you tell yourself, your 20-year-old self, if there was that one piece of golden nugget of advice that you would give yourself? What would it be?
Don't overthink it. I overthought too much and was worried about everything all the time. And I think as long as you do the work with yourself and you do the work outside and you're a good human, I think things will work out. And I feel like there was no need to worry so much,
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think we tend to, especially as women, we tend to overthink it and want things to be perfect. And I think action over perfection. That's something that I keep on telling
And that's
myself
something I
over and
struggle
over.
with now, I have guests coming over and I need to clean the house, and I'm like, well, maybe I don't, maybe the toys can be out, or maybe the books are not organized,
All
maybe
right.
the kitchen is not, like, it's fine.
Yeah.
They're not coming to do an inspection on the house, they're coming to see me. And so it's something that I, struggle with myself, and,
Right.
I think we all do on a different grade. But yeah, it's that doing and being instead of thinking and stressing. I think that's nicely put. Yeah.
So where do you see Nest Apple in the future? Where do you see this going in the next couple of years?
Listen, I would love to keep going. I would love to get more agents. I would love to have. I do think the business is not going to drastically change, but I believe we are going to be more normal than the exception. The whole new fee structure and just the way we do work is going to become the norm. So I would love to just have minded like people working with me, who want to offer a great service, who want to be honest, transparent, and just keep going. And honestly, making more money, because why not?
Yeah, that's
People don't like to say
exciting.
it, but it's the truth. Yeah.
Is there anything you would like to leave our audience with? Anything you'd like to share?
Listen, I would love to hear from anyone who's looking to buy or to sell. I would love to have the option to pitch my service. I always tell my clients, you have to shop around. This is like dating. You have to find the right broker for you. And I would just ask people to not be afraid of the unknown, and because you don't know the company, and because you don't know where we have offices in Fifth, and because we don't have offices in Fifth Avenue, and because I'm not on a reality TV show, it doesn't mean you're not going to get an even better service for a fraction of the price. So I think being able to just be open-minded, and listening to just a different concept, I would love that. I would love for people to just be open to it. That's for buyers and sellers. For brokers who are listening, I'd say, everyone needs to just keep their head up and doing the hard work and getting the deals done, and doing it nicely, friendly, with, there's too much shit going on everywhere. There's no need for people to be confrontational or combative. I think it's just about getting the deal closed and doing it in a professional, kind way.
And so where and how can people connect with you?
Yes, absolutely. So you can go on our website, nestapple.com, NESTAPPLE. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and I don't know if you're going to put, but our name, and my email is Nicole, NICOLE, at nestapple.com.
Thank you so much for being a guest on Parlez-Vous CEO today. Nicole, it was a pleasure to have you. What a great episode.
Thank you so much. It was my pleasure.
And that wraps up today's episode. I am Annelise Caillez, and I can't wait to join you again next week. Thanks for listening to Parlez-Vous CEO today. If you enjoyed the show, leave a 5-star review. It helps us keep going. And connect with us on Instagram at Parlez-Vous CEO. I am Annelise Caillez, and I know some days are harder than others. On those tough days, think back to why you started. What you're doing today matters, even when you can't see the results yet. Ideas are great, but it's what you do with them that counts. Find everything we talked about today at parlezvousceo.com. See you next week, and you've got this.